Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you're watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins, broadcasting to all the English-speaking world here from little old Merritt, British Columbia. The time right now is 9:59 p.m. Western Seaboard time, and in Australia it's a day ahead. It's probably noon, and it's the 30th of October. So I want to thank everyone for joining us on this live transmission, and I got to do this one live so it uploads right away. So, Run to the Hills edition, Australian housing crisis. It's getting bad, man. So, I got this. This was sent to me by a good friend of mine. And it's basically the breakdown of the number of houses and units under construction. Under construction. So, here it is, people. This is what they have recorded up to until now, to June 2018. 156,633 units. Homes. Condos, units. They call them units. And then houses, detached or, I guess, townhome. 70,489. And then let's look at number of units under construction. In the largest states. So let's look at New South Wales, which is the most important, and it's right here. New construction, this is up until information that was given to me up until June 2018. So Australia is run to the hills territory right now. So it's getting really bad. They're followed by Victoria, and then Queensland down there, and then you got wow, I'm just baffled. I'm actually thrown for a curveball. My buddy sent this to me, and I wanted to plug this tonight. And then we got front page of the paper today from the Independent. October 27th is the date on it. October 27, 2018. Biggest fall in house prices for 25 years. Experts warn that Sydney property downturn is going to go much deeper over the next 12 months. The longest previous downturn was from early 2004 and 2006, when the median house price fell 7%, 8.1%. Yeah, so everyone's coming into the comment section. Guys, thanks for joining me on Run to the Hills, Australian edition. It is bad, guys. You have no idea how bad it is right now in Australia, in Aussie land. This is a blueprint for what's going to happen in New Zealand, and this is a blueprint what's going to happen in Canada. It's already happening in the UK, but the price of housing in the UK didn't spike as high as the price of housing in Australia. So Australia's is pretty much under the hammer right now. So what is happening? Let's move on. I got a ton of articles here, guys. I got a slew of articles. I was sent in and around 140 messages in the last 2 days on what's happening in Australia, and it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. Australia most exposed to the housing debt downturn. Australia looks most exposed, combining high household and external leverage, weak domestic housing conditions, and potential further macroprudential and structural tax policy adjustments ahead, Morgan Stanley noted in the new global report. So, guys, remember, a lot of people using the equity in their homes to buy other homes, and people using the equity in their homes to buy a better house than their neighbor. It's run to the hills time. I mean, and what's scaring me, and it's keeping me up in a cold sweat at night, is it's the middle class and the working poor is going to actually have to front this bill. And that is becoming a big problem. It's becoming a major problem, actually. So my video output's low. I'm getting shut down here. So it's not running smoothly right now. So I'm completely offline now. That's nice. So I'm coming back online. It looks like, guys, it's terrible. They're going to start taxing people. People are going to see a lot of less YouTube videos coming up for a lot of your favorite YouTube channels in Canada, because the government of Canada is looking to tax anybody that, after 15 gigabytes of use, you will have to pay tax on it. So anyways, my stream health is really poor. It's running very slow. I'm trying my best. I don't know what to do. I do pay the internet bill, guys, so don't worry. So I don't have the full article because they want me to buy it. So it says here, Australia is the most vulnerable large advanced economy to a household debt-induced downturn, according to the new analysis investment bank Morgan Stanley, which points to slowdown risks from the tightening in lending standards and Labor's planned tax change for housing. Morgan Stanley examined household debt burdens across the G10 currency economies and the growth headwinds from households paying down their high debt levels and cutting back on spending. People, it's going to be really hard to cut back on high debt levels because when interest rates haven't gone up, and that's why the Australian dollar is going to go below 70 cents. Mark my words, the market's just open right now. Well, the market's been open for 4 hours in Australia. And mark my words, you're going to see a downturn in the Australian dollar because they don't want to raise interest rates. Sorry, guys, I'm drinking out of a big jug today. My lemon water. Chart of the day. Upmarket housing led the price falls, but cheaper properties are following. Of course, cheaper properties are going to fall. Everything's gonna go. House prices have been falling for more than a year in Australia, and this is even the fake news that's actually brought this ABC always broadcasting crap. They never tell you what's going in the housing. Finally, they have to come out and say what's going on. Chart of the day: upmarket housing led the price falls, but cheap properties are following. To date, the most slump has been quarantined at the top of the market. It always hits with the luxury housing. Among the most expensive 25% of the housing in apartments. However, since June, the more affordable end of the market is also started to fall because it's not affordable. When you're paying 20 times your income, your annual income to buy a house, are you out of your tree? Cheaper housing tends to have less extreme swings in price and falls are quite rare. But when the bottom end does fall, it tends to point to more persistent weakness in the property market. Oh, what happens is supply and demand bullcrap. Oh, supply. There's so much supply right now in Australia. It's an oversupply in Australia right now. Is anyone even paying attention to what's going on? It's an oversupply. How many articles have I read you guys in the last 5 years? How Sydney, supply and demand, we need more supply. Well, let's look at this again. Let's look at this again. Look how much they're building. That's what they're building. This is what's under construction right now, guys. This right here, guys, this is what's under construction right now. When this comes onto the market, watch these motions I'm going to do for you guys. Watch this and pay attention. That's all I got to say. Look at that. Yep. Aussie collapse saw Chinese Ausin. They're not Aussie, but they're Asian. Ausin. Get it? Ausin collapse saw Chinese investors lose millions in Australian property deals. John Wang had so much faith in the property sales agency Ausin Group that he handed over $765,000 to buy his third Australian property without asking for a receipt. I had already bought 2 properties, although Ausin and I had such deep trust in them, and I didn't even bother to get a receipt when I paid the full amount on the third property. Mr. Wang, a retired businessman from Shanghai, told the Australian Financial Review. His blind faith in the property sales agent backfired earlier this year when the company's China business collapse, resulting in 130 failed residential property settlements in Australia. So there's an article to it right there. More than 100 Chinese property investors like Mr. Wang have lost millions of dollars in deposits and payments for off-the-plan houses and apartments in Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane. So people stopping by the channel to say hi. Big Master in the house. Belinda's there. Yeah, guys, run to the hills. Mr. Wu, retired businessman. I remember that Detective Wu. It was a movie with Boris Karloff, I think. It was Inspector Wu. Interesting. A retired business executive from Shanghai recalls being on a bus in Melbourne in March this year when she impulsively bought a 280 square meter house in Victorian capital. She was in Australia on a trip organized by Ozin for potential investors at the time, and was so impressed with the company's sales pitch, she did not hesitate. So a lot of these people got roped in to buy these houses on these bus tours. There's a lot of bus tours in Kamloops and Kelowna and stuff, and people going out to buy potential properties. They had them for a while in Vancouver until the taxes started creeping up and stuff. Her payment of $490,000 went through several months later, but she says the developer never received the money. Mrs. Wu had already bought the house in Brisbane, though the same agent 2 years earlier, without any problems. So the money didn't go through? Like many of the Chinese investors using an intermediary to pour savings into the plan of homes on Australia's eastern seaboard. She was impressed with the high quality Ozin sales staff that were handsome with good manners and excelled in maintaining long-term relationships with their cashed up clients. The Ozin properties seem like a great wealth management product which guaranteed a 5-year lease and a 10% return, she says. Mr. Wang and Mrs. Wu were two of the number of investors the Financial Review met at a cafe in downtown Shanghai on the condition their real names would not be published. The group of mainly middle-class retirees of 50s and 60s all had similar stories. Many were convinced that their children who had studied or were living overseas that Australia was a safe haven for their capital. Sold on Australians' reputation for good weather and safe environment and robust legal system. Many saw cities such as Sydney and Melbourne as a safer and cheaper alternative to skyrocketing housing prices in Shanghai and Beijing. What they did not count on was the intermediary they had used for years going bankrupt. The Financial Review first broke the news of the agency's collapse in August. Ozin's China business, which is a separate entity to Ozin Australia, was accused of misappropriating tens of millions of dollars in settlement and deposit for homes acquired in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. However, the problems in Ozin run deeper than the failure of a single property agency. The investor stories show how a combination of China's tight controls on capital outflows and regulatory changes in Australia, which forced banks to restrict home loans on foreign investors, ended disastrously. Well, let me wet my beak here. Everybody in the house tonight. This incident shows Chinese investors should be aware of foreign property policy changes, said Yan Yuan, an analyst of real estate service provider eHouse China R&D Institute. They should not invest blindly in overseas property markets just because of the rosy investment returns. Otherwise, you can lose your deposit. This incident also reflects China does not have strong supervision on overseas property agencies, he said. It has also emerged that Ozin investors in China are divided over how to handle the matter. The group of the Financial Review met with believe the only way to get their money back is to help Harry Jin, the man in charge of running Ozon's China offices, resurrected the business. Another group of investors is planning legal action against the Ozon Group's in Australia operation, which is still solvent. The group of investors, who all own multiple properties in Australia and China, say one reason they turned to Ozon was because of the agency had found a way to circumvent China's capital outflow and restrictions, basically launder money or illegally bring it in, which mean an individual is restricted from sending more than an equivalent of 50,000 US out of the country. They said they will pay Ozon in the Chinese currency, which is known as yuan, and the renminbi, and it would find its way to Australia. So, this is a really long article, guys. So, let's see what happens with the legal action they're going to take. I mean, a lot of people get swindled and they lose their money. But in some cultures, they fight to get it back, right? A lot of them, fight to get it back. The hidden cost of house prices crash. Experts fear a crash and dire consequences. What's this over here, guys? Let's see if there's any. It's got music in it. It's my man Martin North right here. He's a really good analytical analyst. Guys, check him out. He's got his channel there. State government loves splashing the cash, especially at election time. New road. There's $4 billion to you. What about the long-promised rail link between the airport city and the fellow billion? So this article here is the hidden cost of house price crash. Let's move on. Can you trust the real estate agents to give you the full story? This is the one I wanted to get to. Remember, guys, your real estate agent. It's really interesting how, you see, everybody trusts their real estate agent like they trust their barber, and that's a big problem. Because you walk into your barbershop, not me, I got no hair, but you walk into your barbershop, you are handing them over money to provide a service for you. You have no choice but to pay your barber to cut your hair because you can't cut your own hair. So everyone's trusting their real estate agents like their barber. Here's $50. I'm giving you 40 or 30 or 20 bucks, whatever you charge, to please cut my hair because I can't cut my own hair. But here's the problem. People are trusting their real estate agents. They're used car salesmen. Well, I don't know if anyone trusts those people anymore, but can you trust real estate agents to give you the full story on house price? Guys, real estate agents, most of them, they're just not going to be your friend. They don't care. They're there for the money. If you watch TV shows like The Block, you get to see every angle of the sales process, not just the elated deflation contestants, but a transparent reverse price, current bids, and recent sales. But in the real world, punters aren't as likely. After a sale, real estate agents don't have to disclose the price, how the property was sold, or the number of bidders, and vendors can also ask for prices to not be disclosed. The only legal requirement information is that the sale prices are listed when the land titles are transferred through the valuer general of each state and territory. Economist Lindsay believes a lack of transparent information is hiding the true picture, an unwinding of Australia's long property boom. When you see house prices rise, real estate agents and those with vested interests in the real estate market love to tell society how high house prices are rising, he said. But when house prices start to fall, all of a sudden, transparency falls off a cliff. Of the 100 properties most recently sold, in just 11 disclosed a price. For 100 before that, 81 disclosed the sale price of the property. So as the properties drop in price, they stop disclosing what they sell for because a lot of people are underwater. You know what I'm saying? On the top of that, you're not obliged to disclose what the highest bid was or what the actual selling price was. That's a lot of funny stuff going on. Aussie buyers in luck position. Companies like domain and core logic, formerly known as RP Data, capture millions of points of data about Australian property market and employ people to attend auctions and keep tabs on local markets. When you think about the data that is collected, the data comes from the Valuer General is seen as gospel. This is the firm of the sale. This is the firm data of the sale price, said Dr. Nicola Powell, Dominion senior research analyst. Guys, I don't know how they can't get their finger on the pulse on tracking this data. It's not like we just came out of bedrock. Or for younger people, how can I say this for younger millennials that don't know where bedrock is? It's not like we just came out of... I don't know. But what I'm trying to say, it's like, why isn't all these things? Why? Because they want to find easy ways to play with you and to keep you on hinge. Author Brendan, 48% of rate is in Sydney right now. 48% clearance rate in Sydney right now. Oh, yeah. Run to the hills. Only half the houses are selling right now. Guys, hold back. Hold back. If you see an increase in 2-3 months in the area you want to buy with comparables, guys, I told you there's a very simple exercise. You go on your local selling, in Canada it's MLS.ca, and in the United States it's MLS.com. You go, or Zillow, for example. You look at the house you want to buy. You print it off. You print off the specs and everything of the house and the price. You put it up on your wall. You find 5 comparables in the area. 5 comparables. You look at 5 different houses in the area that are around the same square footage, the same area, the same integrity, the same year built roughly. Take all of those 5 comparables and put them next to the house you want to buy. If you see an increase in 2-3 months on the price, then you buy. If you see the increase, on the comparables going up, then you buy. But if you continuously see a decrease going on, you hold. But if you see 2 increases on 2 comparables, or 3 increases on 5 comparables, for example, or if you do 10 comparables and you see 5 increases, it might be safe to buy. But if they're all going down, don't buy nothing. So everyone's talking about my clothes. Thanks, guys. Hugh Jazz is in the show. Yeah, guys, make sure you give a like and subscribe. But there was one part here. Woo! What is this?
It's been another nervous weekend for sellers as auction clearance rates continue to tumble down, now to around 40%, amid some of the toughest conditions since the GFC. Real estate data firm Domain noted the steepest fall in Sydney house prices for over 20 years, with substantial drops in Melbourne and other markets. But outside the official data, there are questions over how clearance rates are compiled, as agents are not required to disclose sale prices or how a property was sold. Daniel Ziffer reports.
Here we go.
Okay, the magic number 2435 is their reserve.
For viewers of The Block, the sales process couldn't be more transparent.
$2,850,000. It is going. It's sold.
But for consumers, their picture of the real estate market isn't as clear.
3.475. We'll pass the property in, ladies and gentlemen, to this gentleman right here.
After a sale, real estate agents don't have to disclose the price, how the property was sold, or the number of bidders. Vendors can also ask for prices to not be disclosed.
When you see house prices rise, real estate agents and those with vested interest in the real estate market love to tell society how high house prices are rising. But when house prices start to fall, all of a sudden the transparency falls off a cliff.
Economist Lindsay David believes Australia's long property boom is unwinding. He points to disclosed sale prices in the prestige Sydney suburb of Rose Bay. Of the 100 properties most recently sold, just 11 disclosed a price. For the 100 before that, 81 disclosed the sale price of the property.
Real estate agents are not obliged to disclose whether a property has been sold or not to the relevant agencies. And on top of that, they're not obliged to disclose what the highest bid was or what the actual selling price was. So there's a lot of funny stuff going on.
Too much music in that. I had to cut that because they're going to flag it for music and say I'm trying to steal someone's stuff here. The Australian dollar looked set to fall below 70 cents before China's currency suddenly rallied. That's today's date. Australian dollar fell to the weakest level since February 2016 on Friday before ripping higher into the close. The performance mirrored movements in the Chinese yuan after it fell to the weakest level over a decade against the US dollar. The performance of the yuan will likely dictate broader movements in currency markets on Monday. So this is happening right now because right now the midterm elections right now in the United States are going on. Someone saying, what report on ABC? That was a good report, Michael. I watched it yesterday night on ABC. Yeah, it's like they have these caveman laws in when it comes to buying a house. These caveman mentality laws where, why do I not have this information? I'm investing in the most important asset of my life. And why do I not know what's selling for what and who's selling for what? That's the problem. The Australian dollar endured a wild session on Friday, tumbling in Asian trade fresh multi-year lows against the greenback before storming higher into the close. Much of Aussie's gyrations mirrored the similar movements in both offshore and onshore traded Chinese yuan during the session. Here's how things currently stand at 8 a.m. So here's the dollar right here. So I'm telling you, it's at 70 cents. It's going to go below 70 easy. I see it in the next 2 quarters, depending where oil goes. I think it's very important to follow where oil's headed to, and it's very important to follow where gold is headed. Okay, I read that. Looked at that. Let's move on. Sydney buyers smash auction reserve of Kingston home with $105,000 knockout bid. When the hammer fell, the auction of a 4-bedroom family home in Kensington on Saturday, you could have been forgiven for thinking we were back on the boom. Not only did the property sell for a staggering $430,000 above reserve, the winning bidder also had deep enough pockets to land a $105,000 knockout bid. So there's a lot of people in there. There he is. It's him. It's Chu Wan Fu. He's right here. It looks like Chu Wan Fu. It looks like him here. It's a guy I know. Looks like him. Wow. Kind of took me for that's it right there, man. $2.748 million. Look at that. Yeah. It's almost $3 million bucks. That's nice. I wonder if that's a garage on this side or storage. I don't think you could fit a car in there. It's not wide enough. I don't even think you could fit a car in this entire house. But that's what it is. Wow. Yeah, people have no idea. No, not Tu Wan Fu. It's Chu Wan Fu. Yeah, Stan is saying couldn't fit a bicycle in here. That's right. It's wow. And where's the helicopter pad? Is there a helicopter pad for that much money? You got a bunch of windows that need to be replaced, I could tell, with bars on the windows. You got an entrance of the door here that the wood is. It looked like I had a big. It's got metal mesh on the doors too, so people. Wow. I'm not dissing the house. I'm pretty sure it's a nice house, but wow. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of this before I end up Sydney's auction market suffers worst results in more than a decade. So this is from October 30th. This is a day ahead of me, 9:24 a.m. This is just hot off the press. Sydney's auction market suffers worst result in more than a decade. Sydney's auction market has recorded its worst result in more than a decade, with just 39.4% of homes selling under the hammer the weekend before last. It took longer than usual for revised auctions results to provide an accurate reading of the market, with many real estate agents initially withholding their poor results. 2 weekends ago, Domain Group's preliminary auction clearance rate was 44.5%, but 1 week later, after further results were collected, it was revised down to just 39.4%. Real estate agents who successfully sell homes at auction tend to be quicker to draw attention to the positive results they've achieved, but those with poor sales results are less likely to disclose the bad news. In a market downturn, the financial clearance rate tend to be revised lower than the initial figure. The city's clearance rate had hovered around 50 points since May, but had worsened in recent weeks. Other than 39.4% of clearance rate recorded over the weekend in July 2008, Domain Group data analyst Nicola Powell said this particularly low result hadn't been seen since 2004 and 2006 downturn. At that time, where interest rates, which began in 2003, and the population was declining. We don't have either of those dynamics at the moment. Interest rates are on hold, and Sydney's population is growing. So they're still playing the population card, eh? And with everybody leaving the major cities, I don't see its population's. It's probably growing, but the Australian proper isn't having any kids. So what's happening with that? You know what I'm saying? And then Peter says they love giving sales prices on the up. When places start selling below reserve, they hold back data. It eventually becomes published, but can take up to 3 months to appear. That's very true. Mr. E says they will conceal and reveal what is convenient to their agenda. And then Peter says exactly. Hugh Jazz is saying, how long will it take to see noticeable drops in prices in Toronto and Vancouver? You're seeing it right now. It's dropping. Toronto for sure. Toronto's already down from 2017, anywhere from 20 to 40 points right now. And then Stan says, this depression will be much different. It will be global, not just national. The middle class almost eroded back to haves and have-nots. Very true. Lots of condos are way underwater at the time of settlement when they are finished the builds. So back here, guys, if you're just tuning in, there it is right here, guys. These are the number of houses and units under construction national. So right now, information that's from June of 2018 is 156,000 condos right now that are going to be in completion in the next quarter or 2 quarters or 3 quarters, depending on how far ahead they are, and 70,489 homes, depending on how far ahead they are with them. So this is under construction right now in the national of Australia, like the whole country. So homeowners are currently more hesitant to list their properties in current climate. While old listings are languishing on the market, the average number of days it takes to sell a home out of 76 from 47 a year earlier. So it's taking time. The volume of total homes for sale increased by 18.7%. So there's an oversupply on the market right now. So what happened to all these people? Well, supply and demand. Supply and demand. And I kept saying, supply and demand doesn't work when 20% of the homes are vacant and owned by foreign investors. It doesn't work. Because the supply exists. But I've been over this many times. Blah, blah, blah. The total homes sales increased 18.7, so there's more inventory on the market. We have an over-inventory, an influx of over-inventory. We're seeing new listings decline on an annual basis, but we're seeing a build-up of total stock on the market, so homes are taking longer to sell. Well, there's more supply. Where's the demand? This week's preliminary clearance rate for Sydney is 47.9%, but it's likely to fall further by week's end. And let's go back to this image here. Boom. Yesterday's paper, Sydney Morning Time. Biggest fall in house prices for 25 years. Expert warned that Sydney property downturn is going to go much deeper over the next 12 months. And for the people that listen to me, and actually a lot of people do message me on a daily basis and said that they listened to me and what I said made absolute sense. And then Peter's saying, another major issue is the quality of some of these condo builds. Corners are cut on many to still make a profit. And cracks, etc. can often appear in the concrete and walls after a couple of years. There's some people that are actually seeing some of the condos that they're just becoming unlivable. Yeah, people are getting upper respiratory breathing problems because of the drywall that was used and insulation that was used was super cheap. I don't know why this was sent to me, but the block of 2018, Sarah and Hayden win the $650,000 in shock auction finale. So this is like a TV series that's in Australia where people go and bid on homes and blah, blah, blah. And people don't see the real picture of what's really going on. But they like to mask things and make things look like it's all peachy keen. And I don't think housing prices are going to won't bounce back for at least another. If they actually let it crash, if they actually properly let it crash, and this is without raising interest rates. And Australia is in a lot of trouble if they don't find a way to raise interest rates. They need to raise interest rates because they're going to fall below 70 cents. Now, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Depending on what happens in the midterm election in the United States of America, might cause a ripple effect on the currency. So we'll see what happens. We'll follow that closely here on the channel. And then Adrian, my man Adrian in the comments saying, we have that same stupid TV show in New Zealand. Yep. Let's see what these guys have to say. Okay, guys, bad lending practices. Shame on you, man. And what really keeps me up in a cold sweat at night is the amount of people that are being ushered in to these, are being put into products that the banks are offering that they don't need. People being swindled into things that they don't need. And like the haircut metaphor I say about trusting your real estate agent is like everyone's trusting their real estate agent like they trust their barber. You trust your barber. He cuts your hair bad. You never go back to him. You're out $30. You trust your real estate agent. He screws you over. You're out $2 million. And that's what I'm saying. Now, again, banking. You don't trust your bank. Whenever they tell you, yeah, we're going to do this for you and for this, wait a minute. What are you sugarcoating here? Cut through the crap. What's going on? What's this deal? A lot of people don't look at the deal and say, okay, you got to be like Monty Hall. You know Monty Hall? Do we have a deal? Let's make a deal. Let's look at what we have here. And a lot of people are using that barber mentality and going in and, well, my bank's here for me. My barber cut my hair too, and I like it too. And I trusted him. I'm going to trust my bank. So let's see what this thing has to say here. I hope there's no music. Nobody cares about music.
Well, speaking of the banks, a new poll has found public sentiment towards the banks has taken a real hit since the Royal Commission public proceeding kicked off in March earlier this year. For more on the details of that poll, I'm joined by Your Money Chief Business Reporter Leo Shanahan and also Martin Shaughnessy from Omnipol. Now, gentlemen, it's great to have you here. Leo, just quickly on that CBA stuff, that was given all the numbers that you went through yesterday of all this provisioning, this is yet another one.
Yeah, a couple of $1 billion we went through yesterday on those provisions and costs and fines that the banks have paid over the last few years. And now, look, this will be pretty much a drop in the bucket compared to the others, about $20 million to about 50,000 customers a year. Interestingly, actually, this is a rebate from the CBA. They're not actually stopping the grandfathered commissions because they can't. Contractually, they're not allowed to. So they'll continue to pay these fees
of course,
to the wealth managers, but they'll actually rebate the customers for any of those costs. So it's interesting.
And one would think they'd stop at some stage after the Royal Commission.
Well, they're saying that under the law, this is what they're proposing, that Treasurer actually do something about this and just say, introduce a law saying, look, grandfathered commissions aren't allowed anymore, they're banned, and we don't have to pay them anymore.
Righto. Well, a development there now. Martin, golly, your poll, I suppose. What were we to expect? Exactly this, really. What did you find?
Well, indeed. I think the bottom line number was that the positive attribution that banks had, which was 15% net positive, any Prime Minister would have loved that 2 years ago, is now completely reversed. 15% net negative.
Wow.
The number of people who have a negative view of banks has just about doubled. If you take Commonwealth, for example, 2 years ago, 23% unfavourable attitude towards the Commonwealth, now 47% in our survey.
Quickly talk us through some of the mythology for this poll, Martin, because online.
You can't trust your banks. That's that. The committee heard 245,000 NAB customers have been overcharged fees. The bank will have paid out $130 million by the end of the year, with another $300 million to flow as soon as possible. To follow as soon as possible. To flow as soon as possible. Sorry, flow. I thought it was follow. Anyways, guys, here's the deal. And I was talking to Steve the plumber earlier today. And I told him, why do we not have a free market? We don't. Do you know why? Because we have a central banking system. When you have a central banking system, you don't have a free market. The only time the United States of America had, I don't know about Australia, but the United States of America was when Andrew Jackson was president, and he destroyed the central banking system. And he destroyed the bank and freed America. And that's when America basically became a free market for the people. So we got Charlie there. Pretty much everyone in Australia has given up on the government, police, courts, and banks. Don't give up on your barber, because he's the only one that keeps you nice and trimmed. You know what I'm saying? It's like, really? So what? Now the people that didn't get into this mess are going to pay for it from their pensions. They're going to be bail-ins. They're going to pay for it. The people that are watching on the sidelines are going to pay for this mess. Let's move on. New South Wales, stamp duty killed off overseas buyers market, says Sydney developer. Sydney developer Mark has slammed the New South Wales state government, saying the excessive stamp duty charged on foreign buyers had all but killed off the offshore buyer market. So that's the foreign buyers tax that they did in Vancouver. Holy crap, like 20 months ago, when Vancouver put on the foreign buyers tax and everyone went south to Seattle and boomed up the market in Seattle. Housing in Seattle was going up like $60,000 a month. And then people went east to Toronto and bought up that and went crazy. And everyone ditched Vancouver, you know what I'm saying? And Mr. Bain's Capio Property Group offered to rebate half of the 8% of foreign buyers search. 8%? I think it's like 20% in Vancouver. You know what it is in Paris, guys? I know I brought this up for people that have been on my channel a million times, but I'm sorry, guys, if you've seen this before. Vacant homes are a global epidemic, and Paris is fighting it with a 60% tax. 60 points. You know how much VIG that is? That's a lot of VIG. VIG, V-I-G. That's a lot of juice. I mean, the mob can't even collect 60 points. 60 points! Runaway real estate prices speculation have been filling global capitals with vacant homes, creating artificial shortages in the world's most sought-after cities. The shortage has made local homeowners wealthy overnight, but it comes at the cost of the turning lively cities into empty shells. The city of Paris has decided it had enough to implement a tax in 2015. They didn't quite get the result they wanted, so they're now tripling it to 60%. Paris's empty home problem. So here it is, guys. I brought this up on a few shows ago. Sorry. There's Los Angeles. Where's Sydney? Where are you, Sydney? There it is. 118,499 empty homes. This thing is from 2 years ago. This article's 2 years old. Look at Toronto, 99,000. Look at New York City, 308,000. London, 59,000. Los Angeles, 213,000. San Francisco, Vancouver. Wow, what's the similarity? These are all on the west coast of the United States. The whole west coast is completely bought out, people. And then you got Toronto, you got Sydney there, you got Singapore, Paris. And Paris said enough. Enough. They have $107,000 vacant properties owned by foreign investors. And this is the percentage of the actual stock that's empty. So in Sydney, 6.92% of Sydney stock is empty. Is that normal? My God. So I got to bring that up. Sorry, guys. Okay, where was I? There, foreign buyers. So they're crying over 8%? Give me a break. Capio has a pipeline more than 500 apartments and townhouses under development in Sydney. Ooh, that's gotta hurt. We offered to rebate to try and encourage more overseas purchases in our projects, but the 12% total stamp duty levy must now pay has made them feel as if they are not welcome here. So, I mean, that's something that, it's business. You're taking the risk. You own a company, you're going to take a risk. It's government. Government. Okay, Charlie saying, in Brisbane, not many places are empty and unrented. There's not enough places on the market most of the time, at least in Brisbane and Queensland. And then how many of those homes are being used as grow-ups? That's a good question. Charlie says, also, 3-bedroom homes, they force owners to live in these places for a year till you can rent. That's good to know. Brisbane has a transit lanes which are a national joke. Traffic jam generators. Well, because everyone moved out to the outskirts, so to get into the main cities, it takes you might as well sleep in the back seat and pay somebody to drive. You'll actually have more. You'll be more sane when you arrive. Yeah, baby. Let's move on here. Where are we at? Let's get right here. So, guys, you see I'm not wearing a tie, right? You see, I don't wear a tie. You can't trust someone that wears a tie. I had a good friend that always used to tell me this. You don't trust someone that wears a tie. Monster stamp duty tax should be slain. Implementing productivity and commission's recommendations to scrap the stamp duty that would increase housing and affordability and boost transactions. But what about the Australian proper? It's not even affordable. Rates are going, well, rates haven't gone up, but everyone's living off the HELOC or their second mortgages just to get by. Run to the hills edition, guys. Run to the hills. New research reveals that at least $1 billion owed in lost pay to workers in Australia. $1 billion? It's got to be pesos. Let me see. It's $1 billion. It's not pesos. Let's see what this guy has to say.
Today we're proud to announce the filing of the National Union of Workers group claims against the ADA and Credico marketing companies. These claims are important because they show a very vulnerable class of Australian workers that have never been paid a fair deal, and an industry that is taking real advantage of the employment system.
We're here today because for too long the top end of town and big corporates have frankly got away with too much. And we want to take a stand. We want to make a difference. What we're here to do today is to change the rules. And we're changing the rules not only in Parliament, but these young workers who are here today in direct sales are changing the rules with how we organise and how we fight for workers' rights. We're aiming to end wage theft in direct sales. We're aiming to set a precedent that means independent contracting can no longer be used as a way to steal workers' entitlements, to steal workers' wages, and to steal workers' time.
I was working 55 to 65 hours a week, earning an average of about $75 a week for what I was doing. The stress of the job and, well, with the emotional inflections that you get, it costed me almost every relationship I had and my education. If I hadn't have left, it would have cost me everything I had.
For us, the end game is that every single worker in direct sales is ultimately paid a lawful minimum wage, and that they have the rights that are core to being an employee under Australian law. This is not only about restitution of the money that was stolen from these workers. This is about a claim saying these workers should have rights, full stop.
Every example that is pleaded in the case file today will show that people were getting about 30% or less of the federal minimum wage, a wage that would be paid to every single Australian, no matter their details.
That's gotta suck. People getting paid 30% less than minimum wage. It's got people in the service industry. The Brits, Irish are some of the most exploited. Wow. I really feel for a lot of these people that work their butts off to try and do the right thing, you know? You know? Lots of people in the comment section, guys. Wow, lots of activity going on. You know, I just wanted to throw this out there for you guys. Australian edition, very important. Very important that we keep our finger on the pulse in Australia. Hopefully we'll have some guests on Wednesday's show. Trends in the housing market from the ground to give us a little insight. Australia is a lot of doom and gloom, guys, but I'm not trying to fear porn you guys, because I've been saying this for years. So there's a lot of people coming out of the woodwork now. Look at what's happening in the fracturing in Australia. And I'm like, where the hell were you 5 years ago if you know all this stuff? I've been talking about the same thing like a broken record for the last, 10 years? 7, 8, 9 years now? Since the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver, that's when I started. Is anyone awake? But yes, I want to thank everyone that has donated to me on PayPal. I received 3 donations today. And that really means a lot to me. It really does. Why? Because I feel like I'm providing some value to people. And all the people that have been emailing me, telling me that they did the right thing and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I didn't buy, I listened to you. When I visited Toronto last year, when everything started to crash, just before everything started to crash, a lot of people in Toronto were shaking my hand and saying, "Oh, Mike Martins, dude, it's because of you I didn't buy. If I bought, I'd be underwater right now." You know, it's good. It's a good thing. You know, I like that when I feel that I've reached out to somebody. I just say shame on you to the guys that are just coming out of nowhere and showing everybody how it's wrong. I'm the type of guy that puts an alarm in my car so it doesn't get stolen. A lot of people like to put an alarm in their car after it gets stolen because they learned their lesson. I like to show people or tell people what is happening. You know, we can never get the big picture, and we never will. It's because too many underlying things happening. Any economist will look at it and say, well, what's the government have to say? What does this have to say? You know? Someone saying, Mike Martins and West laboring in Melbourne now and in Sydney will still get you $25 an hour or higher with some companies and if you supply tools. Am I also on iLibor Pay and ETH Bitcoin? No, I don't have any cryptocurrencies yet, guys. I might maybe do with a show where I'll invest a bit of money in a wallet, or I'll buy some and we'll follow where that goes and see, like, maybe I'll do like $1,000 and just buy one currency that everyone, I'll do a thing where people could vote. On what cryptocurrency I should buy. And then from there, I'll buy that cryptocurrency and then we'll follow it together type of thing. I don't know much about cryptocurrency, so some of the guys I work with got $50 an hour for using a grinder. Not hard work, just repetitive. And then someone saying, lucky you are a strong swimmer, Mike. Melbourne is becoming the next California. Charlie, if you don't mind maybe doing some footage, just filming, doing some drive-by filming, shooting some film from your window of driving by, so you don't have to, if there's any sketchy areas in Melbourne, you could upload it to an anonymous YouTube channel, and then I could just play it here if you don't want to make a video. If you have just a regular, just side channel or something, or even to your channel, I'll just play it on here. If a lot of people don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Someone saying Mine's social media platform was saying they're moving to Stripe to ETH coin. Someone says Mike is the modern Jose Rizal. Droidy, my man. Papa Cap. And then Metal Gear says, Mike, get a hardware wallet like the Lender Nano S. And then someone saying, I'm in Brisbane. I actually recorded me in the CBD with prices of the shops and food the other day. Okay, is it on your channel, bud? So, I'm lost is in the comments now. Loans officer said weekly repayments must be no greater than 7.75% of monthly income. The banks are strict on rule NAB, CBA, ANZ, but not Westpac. So here's the deal, guys. Why wasn't this put in place before this happened? This is the problem. And I've been watching this, I'm like, I don't know if you guys know, but back in the day, I used to be a regional manager for a big lending institution. And we were strict as nails. If that pay stub did not match his T4 slip, or if that and we did a what do you call it, employment check to make sure someone worked at the company and stuff. If none of this stuff added up, we declined the deal on the spot. So we weren't out to put junk on the books. We were actually out to find good paying quality customers that need our help. You know, and that's really, you know, So someone's saying you could get Windows software wallets for all cryptocurrencies. It's free, but you need to read a startup guide. So guys, we're gonna advertise what crypto coin I should buy, and then we'll just follow it together once in a blue moon. When I'm kicking off the show. Okay, my cryptocurrency is down today. Oh, I'm up today, guys. By the way, thank you for that. You know, for the tip, and we'll just keep following it on the show. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, a lot of people coming on the show right now. But guys, if you're just tuning in, go back to the beginning of the show, because I'm tuning out. It's been an hour, and I really appreciate. Don't forget to join me Wednesday night Western Seaboard time for Trends. 6:30 p.m. Western Seaboard time, LA County time, Seattle time, Vancouver time for trends in the housing market. And I would like to also thank everybody for the donations on PayPal. It really means a lot to me, guys. You guys have no idea how much that means to me. I just feel like I just feel valuable for some reason, you know? Oh, Charlie's saying, what's your email? I'll email it. Just add me on Skype and send me a link. My Skype is Mike Martins, MikeMartins, 1980. Get Skype if you don't have it. It's clearer than your phone. And no, I'm not advertising for them. I use it on the show. It's clear as day. It's good. It's free. And you could call each other. You could video each other. And you could send links and stuff and photos. So I don't like using Facebook too much. So I'm kind of backing off on the whole Facebook thing. Anyways, guys, I will see you on Wednesday for Trends in the Housing Market. Thank you so much, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Share this, Twitter this, get this out there. Thank you.